Good evening to all of the Moogles, Chocobos, and Tonberries out there. I am Ravlin, joined by Fraggle this week for our weekly community race. We are also joined by Ceiling Cat on tracking. How are you doing tonight, Fraggle?
I'm doing all right. I've had a good, productive day of Final Fantasy VI, so now I'm ready to let other people play it for me.
You are ready to be entertained instead of being the entertainment.
Oh, yes. And, well, oh my god, Javanator, why did you set your menu up like that? Oh,
I like the color combination, and we are off. Looks like a Celis Sabin Umaro start. Actually, not too bad there. You've also got health on Sabin. I'm actually pretty happy with that.
yeah, but I mean, the setup you've got like 10 11 character related checks straight off the bat. I mean, you've got a quick one right there in Nash. Javanator's already going straight for one of the Saban freebies in Zen, while everyone else is doing the standard Nash opening, which is loot all the chests and try not to die to the monster in a box.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good question here. Do you usually check that monster in a box in Narsh to begin with, or do you leave it alone until later?
I usually leave Nash alone till later, unless I start with Lock, Terra, or Mog, to be honest. Or if I do go to Nash, it'll be World of Ruin before World of Balance. It's just, I don't know, I just don't like Nash.
Fair enough. Things we should know about this week's flags. It is a 710 2 Dragon Seed. There is the possibility for a skip, although those requirements were randomized and I haven't caught them yet, so I'm not sure what they are. But, if one of our racers goes a little bit above and beyond, they'll be able to skip straight to the statues. But other than that, this is basically I would call it a regular seed with the Ravlin special extra random chaos.
Because just chaos isn't enough. We have to add random. And that's not just your normal randomizer. Oh, we'll switch this person to that place. No, this is fully random, meaning we could see the same boss several times in several obnoxious places.
Also, it is typical for us to have things that are like shops that are shuffled, plus 20% of their inventories will be random. Same goes for chests. Here on this seed, I've decided to make it that they are 50% random. So there is just a lot of possibility for silliness and extra good things in shops. However, in this seed, we will not be seeing any Illuminas, any experience eggs, breakable rods, or super balls, or elemental shields in shops. You might still find some of those things in chests.
Yeah, we like to mix it up a bit, but we'll take the Drew and Jack tactics off the table, which is breakable items. Bye bye.
Yep. Red Baron is taking a PM Stalker fight there in the Monster in a Box. Not a bad one. It's one that you can defeat early here and get a little bit of XP just to get off level 3. That is frankly something I am a big fan of. Level 3 is real rough.
And I think Celeste may have the natural magic because I think I've just seen that she learned life 2 there off that fight. So that's a really good spell to get early on.
Yep.
Provided you can then get enough MP to use it.
Yep, and definitely just saw Jex here in the World of Balance. South Figaro has picked up a snow muffler and a ribbon out of the boxes. So that's something that's good. I've also seen behemoth suits for sale. And Genji gloves. So we are definitely seeing some powerful options becoming available to our runners.
Yeah, Jex is currently selling the family farm and everything on it to get Ragnaroks.
Yep, I removed Illuminas, but there are still Ragnaroks. And there are snow mufflers for sale too. Haha.
Well, depends on what the sequel throw at them. They might need all the firepower and defense they can get.
That certainly is true. Yep, we've now got our runners just sort of doing their usual looting, trying to get the stuff that they need to be prepared for whatever the seed throws at them. To be fair, the seed might just throw tunnel armor at them 10 times. We don't know.
Is random abilities on, or is it more the elemental scale? And I didn't quite catch that on the flags.
I believe that is just scale element. It is not scale random. So bosses will be doing things that are more quote-unquote level appropriate for whatever level that you face them, but it will not be completely random. It will be sort of in their elemental wheelhouse. And we have Kieran with spells that are there, but that I wouldn't be excited about personally, except maybe Osmos.
Yeah, Osmos does have its uses, but in order to get the most out of it, you have to be spending a lot of magic. I've just seen a debilitator pick up there on Jex's screen, something which I will actually use from time to time, because there's nothing funnier than making Flame Eater vulnerable to fire and killing it with Fire 3.
I also noticed that shop that has Ragnaroks also has Aura Lances because, we like to just be as generous with our shops as humanly possible here.
So, got a fire sale going on with all this offense, but what exactly is the offense going to be used on?
That is the one thing that I like about Ragnaroks compared to Illuminas is because Ragnarok can proc Flare and not Pearl. There is nothing in the game that is going to absorb it or cause you a problem.
Yeah, it might not have the same defensive capabilities, but offense-wise, at times it is the superior weapon.
That's interesting. Jex is going into Figaro Castle here. Is he just getting a couple of chests in those two shops?
Maybe. Yeah, he might just be... Oh, he's got an Atma weapon there. Let me just check if the improved Atma flag is on.
I don't think I ever turned that flag off now that it exists.
Well, we'll certainly see that come into play then, because that improved Atma weapon flag is just... It turns what used to be about 20,000 starting money into, oh, this is actually quite good now. Much like Sword Tech.
That is absolutely correct. So the improved Atma weapon flag is a change that we have put in that you can make it so that the Atma weapon in the base game, it is max battle power. It ignores defense. You would think it's a very powerful weapon, but if you've played this vanilla, you'll remember that the Atma weapon was always underwhelming. It just never did as much damage as you think it should. Well, that's because somewhere in its damage formula, it also has a level divided by 64 multiplier. So if you are under level 64, it is going to do less damage than you quote-unquote think it should. With our better Atma weapon flag, we just changed that to be level divided by 32 instead, and that is a much more reasonable level to achieve here in the randomizer.
And also, with it being the level multiplier involving 32, it makes Atma weapon more viable around the level 20s, which is for a large selection of our community the level you normally will see them approaching Kefka's tower, unless they've decided to be grinding.
Red Baron here is fighting the Oliver and getting the heck doomed out of him.
The Death Dealer himself, where he has 3 actions: Doom, Condemn, or sit there and do nothing. And as we see there, he kept going for Doom. However, Red Baron mustn't realise that even though the no undead bosses flag is on, the undead monsters like the Alover, Daedalus, etc. can be killed with a Phoenix Down or Revivify because they aren't boss flagged.
Yes, that is correct. That is one of those things that often slips through the cracks, because when you see the no undead flag on, you just sort of forget that there are regular enemies that are undead as well that don't get affected by that. Just bosses do.
And that would have been a very nice pair of tiger fangs, also known to some in the community as stack gloves.
To me, they're just known as cell fodder.
I don't mind. If the most powerful thing I've got, I'll take a pair all the way to Final Kefka. Because usually by then I've got other things to be using, which rely on the boosts their stats give. But as it stands, we've got 3 people raiding the Imperial camp. And
yeah, makes sense to me. You generally have a couple of battles here that, hopefully you can get through them so that you can, again, get off of level 3. Level 3, you've got less than 100 HP, and it is just one of those things where, like, a regular Fire 1 spell can just kill you because you don't have the HP to survive.
And we see it's Locke, who's performing the other side of the pincer attack on the Imperial camp, and Sky Armor Spitfire, not an encounter you want to see when you're this low level.
No, but I think we're going to see here Red Baron's fact that he took the PM Stalker fight earlier is coming to help him out a little bit. He's able to survive that tech laser. He's, surviving a little bit more than some of the other runners.
Yeah, and Shadow said, I noticed he was taking a few of those blizzards. Not blizzards, Christ, I've been playing a bit too much Pokemon. Ice One. Yeah, he's been taking a bit too much of those Ice One spells, but it's giving him the health, so he's stocked up on these snow mufflers. Meanwhile, Celeste is doing her best impression of Lena from Final Fantasy V for Jax.
She's trying. She's doing her best.
The floor ain't gonna fight itself.
Nope. And so we have also changed this. If the Imperial camp is a quote-unquote dead check, if it's just going to give you an item, you don't have to fight through these battles. But if you fight through these battles, you're at least getting an Esper, or in this case, we're getting Locke. So we're going to be, getting these early levels and, starting to get ourselves really, really ready to handle more obnoxious things that I'm sure will be coming.
Yeah, I mean, it's like some of the encounters they're getting as well are actually good experience as well, per level. Granted, they're not up there with some of the best, like the Reach Frog, the Gigantos, but the Air Force encounters and the stack of Vectors here, it's pretty good experience. I mean, Amaro can take them all out in a single storm.
If you get lucky.
And you see there, we've got Locke, so now I would expect all our racers who pick up the treasure hunter to be hightailing it to the Worlds of Ruin Nash to get that Care Shield and see how much it'll take to unlock.
Yeah, that is certainly where I would be headed next. It's also a free, Esper check. On the other hand, you're already here in the world of balance, just sort of swinging through the rest of the checks that are right here, the rest of the Sabin checks, Barren Falls, and maybe even the Phantom Forest. Might as well get it done while you're here.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Barren Falls. You don't even have to heal beforehand because it's one of those times where the game actually gives you a full heal, which is great unless your Valiant Knife strats are in play, and then your damage goes from high to oh.
Hi, too. Well, it was good at one point.
So Celeste has stepped up to the mark, some serious hang time, and it's number 128.
All right, number 128. Not bad. Something that I think our runners will be able to handle pretty darn well, especially considering the fact that I think everyone now has the Ragnaroks and a couple of snow mufflers. I'm
Yeah,
I'm not foreseeing any issues here.
yeah. It's oh well. We had Sid there pulling out an H bomb, and Amaro with he didn't take off the Blizzard Orb. So every time Amaro decides to multi-target spell, he's just gonna heal.
Rough.
Ooh.
That is something I always forget what number 128 absorbs. And for
Yeah.
some reason in my head I always think it's fire. It's not.
No, that's the other one. Number 128's older brother, Inferno. Yep, we're just seeing a lot of slots and some swings. But the Curse of the Storm coming out again for Jax. And any of that damage he's inflicting.
It's not too much healing. You're doing more just by swinging with Celis and and Locke than you are healing with that. So,
Yeah, it's just annoyance in case you get that unlucky critical hit. Because, I mean, is number 128 the one who does Rapier? Where it's the, really big physical hit?
he does rapier, but I mean, it's only doing about 97 damage, so it's not that bad.
Normally when I get hit by Rapier, it's normally like 4 figures.
Well, that might be something that would happen if any of our racers end up fighting 128 a little bit later when he is leveled up and is, a big boy and not, level, 10 or so.
Here we go, and Franklin in chat is the one who's just pointed out that Right Blade uses Rapier. So thanks for clearing that up. That's the one I'll remember. There we go. 128 uses the HP drain.
All right, Jex is the first one through this fight, going to give us a peek at what is at the bottom of Barren Falls. And it is the Esper Bismarck. Not an Esper that I'm particularly excited to see for the Esper's sake, but let's see if it has any good spells on it. Fire 2 and Magic Power +1. I would certainly take that in a hot second.
Yeah. Good way to start it off. The characters are still low leveled, so even just that extra +1 per level will have an impact. It won't be as drastic as the +2 per levels, but
it would in fact be about half as effective.
I'd say probably half as effective, but knowing the seeds, probably 2/3 as effective.
All right, Jex is now checking out Vector. I'll be curious. Again, I'm still waiting for someone to go into the World of Ruin Narsh, see what's there, see if there's any use in trying to uncurse that Paladin shield.
Yeah, I mean, it's still like within the first 20 minutes of oh, there we go. Shadow Sid in World of Ruin Marsh.
Ask and I
Just
shall receive.
So, 20 minutes in, what's the highest number you'll take?
Let's see, with these characters, I think there's a good argument for, 12 or 13. Ooh, offering and economizer. I would be taking the offering here.
Thinking this, especially in the like with the early stages, I think the economizer would prove a bit more useful with that magic power increase and fire 2. Get that lane quick. 1 MP cost. Ooh,
Yep.
9.
9,
That's a shield.
I would definitely be doing that. We've got the Magitech Factory. That's, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 battles on its own. If you can get your person to survive through those 7 battles, you've only got to do 2 more, and you got a Paladin shield, I'd be all over that.
Oh, definitely. Anything under 10 is a must take, even if it's like towards the later half of the game. You can easily uncase like, 5 or 6, like just going through Kefka's tower. Or if you're like me, where you sometimes leave one of the fixed encounter checks till near the end, you can just run it through one of them.
Yep. Shadow Sid is heading up Narsh. Looks like he's going to take on the Tritok spot and maybe one of the 2 dragons here that's required.
Yeah. Did we scale them, or did you leave them as big boys?
I think they're scaled, although with the gold dragon it'd be really hard to tell.
Yeah.
Gold Dragon is just one of those, it's a final Kefka's Tower boss. He's one of the dragons that you can find in there and is regularly casting Bolt 1, in the final dungeon. I just don't understand what was intended with that boss there.
Maybe it was more psychological intimidation in case you stumbled across the Brachiosaurs by accident when playing, and then you see that one in the tower and you're thinking, oh god, no, not one of these here, no.
All right, the Red Baron has decided to do the Phantom Train and has picked up Setzer and ejected one of his party members for Setzer. So I'm kind of curious to see what ability Setzer has that makes it worth it.
Okay, so he's ejected Saban, so Setzer must have some kind of offensive ability, because the only reason I'd be getting rid of health is if it was something like sword tech, but we'll find out now.
Lore, okay. Aqua Rake, and he comes with Grand Train Standard. That Setzer, especially if you put the either the Economizer or that Magic Power +1 Esper on him, that's going to be good.
Yep, I mean, you might hear people talk about Grand Trainers like, oh, it's poor man's ultimate. It's a defense-piercing, non-elemental spell. And it's a lot cheaper than the likes of Ultima. And if you were to pick the Economizer, you've got guaranteed 2,000 damage on pretty much anything right there.
Yep. So Shadow Sid makes it through the Gold Dragon fight, gets quite a bit of XP onto Celis and Umaro, picks up another Ragnarok reward, nothing to sneeze at. The Red Baron is discovering that those are some final Kefka's Tower enemies there in the Phantom Train, so took him a minute to get through that battle.
And it paid off, though. Let's see if he makes any use of it. He acquired Sourmouth because of the evil Oscar. And Sourmouth is probably my favourite of the laws after Blowfish, because you know exactly what you're going to get with that law. Like Blowfish, 1000 straight damage, great in the early game. Sourmouth will near enough always inflict at least one status effect on most bosses and dragons, and in a sea where dragons are required, it can turn some of the worst into harmless.
Yep. Javinator has found our first sighting of Doomgaze, while Shadow Sid has found our first sighting of Umaro. I say first because, once again, bosses are random, so we might be encountering the same boss more than once.
Yep, Javinator survived the level check. None of his party are a multiple of 5, so now it's just surviving the spells, slaps, and dooms. Oh, and there's an Atma weapon up on Jex's screen.
Yep. I also did want to point out that Jex showed off some pretty decent tech. On the last fight, he was fighting Phantom Train, and he was able to use Demi to do over 4,000 damage to the Phantom Train because it is vulnerable to Demi, but it is not vulnerable to Phoenix Downs anymore in our flag set. So,
yeah, another little trick with Phantom Train for people who might be wondering how to deal big damage to it early on. If you've got sword tech, you can use tech number 3, which is usually called Slay. And that is a gravity-based attack where it will do a nice big chunk of health. And that's a very fast-moving octopus.
yeah, the places that Ultros shows up in this randomizer and either, running very quickly or like swimming through a stone floor in a cave, Ultros is, I think, secretly the most like nightmare fuel enemy if you actually think about what's going on here.
Yeah, and the fact that we've normalised and distorted them as well means if Opera Ultros appears, especially late on into the seed, things could get a little bit dicey.
Just a little bit. Jex making his way through Atma Weapon, and Javinator is struggling a little bit here with Doomgaze, but I think just about anyone would be struggling with Doomgaze at this point.
Yeah, unless you're like armed with a ton of Fire 3 spells or Fire Shields, Fire Rods, Doomgaze at a low level is not pleasant. And I think I've just seen some healing on Doomgaze, possibly, which might imply that Amaro's still got that Blizzard Orb on for Jav.
Yep. Jex picks up an Odin Esper here in the Magitech factory and the poison status. Sorry for that flashing screen effect without any warning. That Odin had float. And just float.
And Jav is noping out of Doomgaze, probably come back to take another swing at it later. Meanwhile, we will see what we've got here in the Yeti Cave. It's a Gao.
All right, so these are completely random abilities. One of my favorite things about that is that Gao can end up with the same command twice, and that happens a distressing amount of time when you are doing truly random abilities.
Good old double slots Gao. The best Gao.
Ooh, that is a rough fight to find there in the Magitech factory that Jex is fighting. I believe those are retainers.
Yeah, I wouldn't be wanting to face them at any stage, really, of a seed.
Yep. I am curious here because when Javinator reset, he ended up in a spot that I wasn't expecting, so I'm not sure if he might have lost any progress with that reset to Doomgaze.
Okay, we've got Shadow Sid struggling in the damage race with Umaro, and now we've got the bouncing Yeti down the bottom right. Meanwhile, Red Baron looks to be leaving World of Ruin Marsh, probably with his Curse Shield. And
Curse Shield and an offering.
Yep. And, yep, straight Circle Engine, which is the most logical play, really, at this stage. It would have been either there or...
And there is a Valiant Knife. So for people who picked up that offering, we now have a Valiant Knife and Locke, who is guaranteed to be able to use it. So,
yep, in this case, you would have had the advantage if it was me and you racing and we had that choice, because I would have went with the Economizer.
Yep. Jex has now found who I affectionately refer to as Niles and Frazier, the Cranes. Now, my question is, are these the boss, or are these random encounters? Because there is 10% of the fixed encounters are now bosses, because I'm just fun like that.
Oh. Oh, he's just electrified one. Because when the cranes are like this, it gets a bit confusing.
Yep.
And Franklin in chat has just said it's fixed encounter.
So there's a very good chance that we could immediately finish this one and face them again.
Just think the cranes are actually, they're on the way to be pushed out to grab the airship. They're not meant to be getting attacked now. That's like 2 bosses away.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? That's French vanilla, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's an M-Tech boss. It's an M-Tech. Yeah, close enough. We've got Red Baron doing a spot of crypt exploring with the little simple water puzzle. Picking up a dusty fake mustache from the chest.
Yeah, I probably would not be putting that fake mustache on my own face. But that's just me.
And a tiara from down below, and a merit award, which we got on the 33% random equipable. I believe you picked, so yeah. That merit award could come in useful.
Yeah, it's certainly possible, and definitely has its uses. And unfortunately, Shadow Sid is finding out why you don't bring Umaro to the Veld to go recruit the Gao character, because he just body slammed him.
Oh, poor Sid. It looks like the cranes were the second encounter slot in the fixed encounter run, because Jex has ran into them again.
Yeah, well, I seem to remember that Frazier never got canceled, so, I'm not surprised that we'd see, Crane Season 2.
Ooh, a Master Pug down there. To be honest, I wouldn't be taking this fight. It's not really worth it, the Gradius Dagger.
Yep. So it looks like Gao has Dance and Jump. Let me tell you something about Gao and Jump. Gao has one of the highest natural battle powers in the entire game. So if you have him with Jump and a Mithril Spear, the worst spear in the game, he will still be doing 2,000 and 3,000 damage in final Kefka fights. So Gao with Jump, I'm a fan.
Yeah, I've started to actually appreciate some of Gao's natural stats a lot more through playing other variations of Final Fantasy VI. like some of them where you end up with the character's equipment pool shuffled about, and as we know, unless he's given a merit award, Gao can't equip anything, so you have basically a bare-handed berserker, and he does hit for quite some damage. Meanwhile, we've got the spiral on Mount Colts there. Javinator doing one of the more overlooked saving checks, and he finds Kefka. So, this is the contractual, call it a 34-30.
Yep, so, GG, Javinator has come through and is winning. Finishing this battle, as long as Kefka does not escape, we will see the end of the game here.
And it looks like Season 3 is on Jax's screen.
So just to answer a question that some of our viewers might be having, hey Ravlin, you said it was only 10% of the fixed encounters would be bosses. How the heck did we hit 3 cranes in a row? Well, the way 10% of fixed encounter works is that it replaces 10% of the fixed encounter formations with a boss. So in this case, it has replaced whatever formation this was, say it was the mag rotor, the double red mag rotor fight here, with cranes. So now we've just hit that mag rotor fight 2 or 3 times in a row, and it was replaced with cranes.
Yep, a similar pattern will occur on the Climb to the Floating Continent series of battles on the airship with the 3 fixed encounters. They will be like a pattern of 1 and then a second, and then the 3rd encounter usually repeats as encounter number 2.
Yep.
And as someone in chat's pointing out there, the last cranes was the boss, so that means that encounter pack 2 on the railroad, which is the one what gets repeated twice. Christ, I can't words. Yep. Well, encounter number 2 on the rail cart rides is the same as encounter 3, so we got crane, boss crane, and now here's number 24 in the sky.
Yep, once again, French vanilla fights. So in order to win this race, our racers need to get at least 7 characters, 10 espers, and defeat 2 dragons. Once they have done that, they are able to go into Kefka's tower, and then they just need to, beat the evil mad clown. All of the fights before Final Kefka, they are scaled to what we call progression times 2, which is for each piece of progression, each character, esper, or dragon that they fought, the enemies are gaining 2 levels, and associated stats and HP and MP along with that. But Final Kefka himself is not scaled. For a couple of reasons. One, we want the Final Kefka battle to be the epic battle that we all remember from playing Final Fantasy VI Vanilla. And also it means that the battle is the same for everyone. Because if you get some extra progression, some extra characters or espers, the enemies will continue to level up. So having someone face a level 30 Final Kefka and someone else facing a level 40 Final Kefka, not really a fair fight or a fair comparison at the end.
And we've got a Magimaster in the sky on Red Baron's screen, and
oh no,
he's got Amaro.
Oh
which,
no.
Yeah, he's took the reset out. Meanwhile, Javinator, I noticed, picked up a Minerva from one of the chests in the Magitech factory. One of the pieces of equipment I normally end up with whenever I'm racing this, because I always seem to get them off the pugs.
Huh. Must be nice to be that lucky.
Zelfa has auction house luck, I have Minerva luck.
And Kilbasiago, I believe... it was at least proposed that fixed encounter packs on things like the Magitech factory will be the same between all runners. So I think if Javinator goes through to the end here, we should see, the Retainers, Dark Force, and then 3 Crane fights in a row. We will be able to test that right now because, I've said it out loud and now we're all watching for it.
Yeah, it used to be down to RNG what encounter packs you actually got on like these series of fixed encounters. There was one example where it was a ascent to floating continent, and out of like the 15 people who raced that seed, something like 10 of them had at least one goddess, and the other 5 was a mix of all goddesses or no goddess. So the Atma tweaked a few bits to make it more level playing field.
Ooh, Red Baron just got entirely annihilated by level 5 Doom. Oof.
Yeah, that's one thing I am paranoid about on any seed, is running into Doomgaze for that reason, the party wipe. I mean, I will actually check my levels sometimes before going into a boss, just to see if anyone's a multiple of 5, and if they are, I'll take that Moogle charm off and try and grind out an extra level.
That looks like that's what Red Baron is doing exactly right now, trying to take a fight and get off of level 5 or, whatever level he happens to be on. Probably 15 or 20 at this point.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's... Oh, we've got a dance against Doomgaze.
Unfortunately, I believe it was a wombat, missed. Otherwise, that is one of the more powerful dance abilities.
Yep, those small angry mammals and marsupials deal a good 1,000 to 2,000 damage whenever they connect, but they are like interceptor. They can't target flying enemies for the most part. It game's coded weird, but basically, even though the little wombat jumps and bites Doomgaze's wing, it doesn't.
It looks like it, but it doesn't.
So yeah, Sid noping out of that, and he's going to be doing the collapsing house check in Zen, and Javinator heading towards the second boss encounter in the factory. Meanwhile, we've got Sabin running around the streets of South Figaro. No doubt offload some of the rubbish and buy more powerful things.
Yeah, we have found Valiant Knife, an Atma weapon, and Ragnarok's for sale. We certainly have the makings of a very strong physical damage-based seed here. I just don't think... I think Red Baron is the only one who's found the Valiant Knife and the Offering.
Yeah, and I mean, I've just spied there, Celeste's now dual wielding Ragnarok's thanks to a Genji glove. So Jex is basically going to be approaching whole day mode, as we call it, where basically you don't even need to use memory function in your controller setup. Just hold A, attack. Your Ragnaroks will cleave through an auto crit as long as you've got 20 MP per hit.
Yep. One thing I'll also point out, Shadow Sid is taking advantage of grabbing those monsters in a box inside of the collapsing house, taking advantage of the fact that there's no timer.
Oh, I've literally just noticed that now you've said that. Normally it's the 5-6 minutes, isn't it?
Yep. I do prefer the no timer options because, frankly, I think in Worlds Collide, I don't see the value necessarily of having a timer. If we encourage people to go fast. This is a race, so they're going to go fast anyway. And there was the randomized timer that is also an option, but for some of the places where you have a timer, like the end of the floating continent, if you hit a bunch of bosses, it becomes actually impossible. So I like to remove timers.
Yeah, I was about to say the one place where timer would be very, very detrimental would be the end of floating continents. I mean, the Opera House, you can dodge around the rats because they move so many pixels each time. You can work with that in timing, but floating continent, it's guaranteed spots there, and a 5-minute timer when you suddenly get hardwalled by Tritok because you haven't got defense ignoring or fire. Ugh.
Yep. Red Baron seems to have left the Blizzard Orb on Umaro, and Umaro is just deciding that he wants to cast Storm over and over and over again, and that is quite unfortunate.
Yeah. Like you said, when you pointed out that the Blizzard Orb wouldn't have made much of a difference on number 128 because they were out damaging it, with Doomgaze, it certainly does. He's got the higher level, and surviving just to get a hit on Doomgaze sometimes is tough enough. But just to see Amaro go, here, me friends, help.
Yep. Shadow Sid just picked up a Pearl Lance from the sketchy guy in the woods in Zen, and Gao is able to equip it, which means that we have a jumping Gao with a Pearl Lance. That is going to be quite a bit of damage.
Oh yeah. The only drawback to that would be an unfortunate pale proc on, say, tier 3 of Kefka when you've finally managed to whittle Gale's health down. Not that that's ever happened to me before.
Yep. Jex finds another Umaro fight. So far, 4 bosses. We have found 2 tunnel armors, 2 Doomgazes, and 2 Umaros.
And a lot of cranes in a factory.
And a lot of cranes in the factory. Yes.
If I was running this and I hit that gauntlet, my only thought would be, at least it isn't random abilities, because the random ability cranes are terrifying.
Yeah, if it's random scaled, you can start hitting things like they'll just decide to cast Ultima.
I've been gone by the left crane and hyperdrive by the right crane before. That was interesting.
Rough. But that definitely sounds like a seed that I would generate.
Okay, so we've got Shadow Sid hitting the Opera Dragon, and it's the Ice Dragon. So this one should go down fairly quickly.
Yep, another one of those dragons, not quite as anemic as the Gold Dragon, but still fairly, I'm going to say, innocuous. I think the dragons that I tend to have the most trouble with is usually the Blue Dragon, and the Storm Dragon. And the Blue Dragon, that's because I usually don't have anything that nullifies or absorbs water element.
Yeah, unless you're basically wearing the imp gear, like using a titanium or the shield, you don't absorb water. It's just one of those very underrepresented elements for gear in a lot of the Final Fantasy series. But I usually think it's got to be dirt or storm for me, the troublesome two.
Dirt Dragon also can just decide, no, you're going to die now.
And especially when you get Dirt Dragon in Fanatic's Tower, where that dragon is required, and you don't really have much offensive magic to deal with him. And you haven't found Berserk either.
Right. Let's see, Red Baron going through, dealing with Phantom Train here. Phantom Train did start off with an Evil Toot, which Evil Toot is, I think, secretly one of the more dangerous abilities in the game. And I'm not saying that because I have absolutely queued up a cleave and gotten Evil Tooted and cleaved myself.
No, I mean, that seems extremely unlikely to happen to anyone on a restream or a race seed.
I can't imagine why that specific example would come to my head.
It's similar to Disaster from the Doom Dragon. It's just a very subtle ability where a lot of us think nothing of it, and then next thing you know, your Valiant Knife Offering characters just murdered your entire party and the dragon in the same bout of attacks.
All right, Shadow is showing us the opera, also reminding us that you do need to talk to the impresario to start off the sequence.
Yep, I always mix the two switches up, without fail. I'll be pulling the right switch in the world to ruin, like, why is it not working?
Yep. Very curious to see what we're going to find for our enemies up here in the rafters. I think it's about time for a truly trolly fixed encounter. Chaser and Pipsqueak is not that.
Aw. I was expecting cranes.
Cranes would be great. I also think something like a Funbaba 3 here would just tickle me pink.
Free Baba. The best Funbaba. Because it never would appear in one of the statue locations if you let him loose.
Not even once. So typically one of the bosses that we don't have as part of the random or shuffled boss pool is Funbaba 3. That's the one that uses Baba Breath on you and, yeets one of your party or two of your party members out of the battle. So if that gets used on one of your characters, they do return to the airship from wherever they are, which includes from Kefka's tower.
Yeah. So it's, like say, normally it's a case of, you just throw a few spells at it, you get blown, your party gets cut in half, and normally, if it's moblets, you'd be like, oh, here comes the person running out the house, and you've got 3 people in your party. When it happens in a different location, say, for example, the spicy chicken statue spot, you suddenly find that, hang on, my party of 4 is now 2, and the 2 who got blown away may or may not have had my Ragnaroks. How can I get these back?
Well, all you got to do is warp stone out and leave and come back and redo the tower.
Luckily, though, once you get rid of a statue, it doesn't that location won't respawn a boss. So if you do, unfortunately, have to leave at Kefka's tower, you can just run straight back through that route and be there in a lot less of the time it took than your first time up there.
That is true. We do enjoy watching our runners suffer, but, we do have limits.
And recently there have been a lot of people actually using the warp out of Kefka's tower approach. Like, almost like a scouting run. Like, they think, I might not be strong enough for this, or this might not be the right party config, let's give it a go. And also with the skip statue requirements, it might be a case of, oh, the dragon I need to kill is in Kefka's tower. If I just go in down path 2 and kill the dragon there, I can skip my entire party to the statue switches.
That is true. So Shadow Sid is now finding the tentacles fight here in the Opera House, which is usually a fight that involves tentacles, just not these ones.
Yep, a good way to deal with this fight is a pair of running shoes, because Seize inflicts the slow status, and then once they do it again, it captures the character, as demonstrated there with Umaro. When one of the tentacles does Seize again, it'll go for Celeste because she's slowed. With the running shoes on, it's auto haste status, you can't be slowed. So in that case, they'll just keep wasting the time while you can keep hammering away at them.
Absolutely. Red Baron is now going through our Magitech factory. He got through the Retainer and Dark Force fight, and now I fully expect him to see seasons 1, 2, and 3 of Niles and Frazier.
So here we go, is season 1. And that was a good 2,500 damage from Gao.
Gao is, like I said, very, very high natural battle power. It makes very, very good use of being able to equip weapons here. All right, Jex is following in Shadow Sid's footsteps, and it looks like Javinator is looking to fight the tunnel armor spot. However, we do know that this tunnel armor spot only gives us an Esper? Or is it the Valiant Knife? Nope, Valiant Knife is a Klingonin. I'm looking at our tracking sheet because I don't remember things. It's an economizer. Not useless, but not sure I'd call fighting a Doomgaze worth it.
No, definitely not. Now, at this stage, an hour in, an economizer, unless you're gonna maybe play around with quick strats, provided you find something with quick, or you can pull off mating. It's self-fodder.
Which, don't get me wrong, 25,000 gold or so is nothing to sneeze at. I definitely wouldn't be sad about it.
Or what might be worth doing is taking that economizer off to the Colosseum, because it's totally random rewards, and a good chunk of them are actually visible as well compared to vanilla. So whatever you've got in your inventory, you've got some out of, well, it's possible 200 items in the Colosseum pool. You've got, and there's probably between 80 and 100 visible in this seed, I believe. So you've got a 1 in 2 chance of seeing if it's worth betting that tonic.
Yeah, and Jex is now getting into his tentacle fight, and the Red Baron is on, not sure if this is Season 2 or Season 3 of the Cranes, but, making his way through it, and it looks like Shadow Sid's about to dive into the Magitech factory as well.
And speaking of Red Baron making his way through the seasons of the Cranes, it's his first restream race with us, so this has got to be an experience for him.
Absolutely. So, I think it's a good time to do some shout-outs again. Once again, shout-outs to all of our runners. Be sure to go ahead and give them a follow as a thank you for giving us a good hour so far of entertainment. We also have myself and Fraggle as our commentators. Feel free to give us a follow, although no pressure on following me. It's not like I stream very much. And Ceiling Cat is on tracking. We would not be able to do it without the work of everyone here on the Restream team. So thank you to everyone who's doing that.
Yeah, like I say, I mean, we all, whenever we're on stream, and you'll see if you like the open world randomizer content, we've got Worlds Collide, but a lot of us do play the different RPGs. You'll see us about the other communities. So, just if you like what you see, give a follow, swing by. We're always happy to talk.
And also, if you like what you see and want to try it out for yourself and you haven't thus far, go ahead and join us at our Discord or at our website, which is www.ff6wc.com. These are both, the Nightbot has been posting them every so often. These are great places to start. We have lots of resources for new players. Everything from video guides to written guides to people who are just willing to sit down and talk through a seed with you. We are always welcoming new people. Please come and join us and play games with us.
Yeah, I mean, if you just want some quick instruction, or if you're more interested in the coding aspects and the actual number crunching, what goes into making this game work, there's all kinds of resources available. I mean, we've seen some of the creativity come up. I mean, we've got a new draft system in play. There's a bot which will come with predetermined commands, and you take turns picking them. Or you can make the bot pick several for you on a turn, and it'll make a seed for you, so you don't have to mess about and be confused by all the settings on the website. Just take care with some of the flags you do draft. There have been some real train wrecks in the past 2 or 3 weeks in our most recent tournament.
Yep, and that is another thing that we do a lot of in this community is we tend to actually hold a lot of events. Right now we are holding a drafting tournament that Fraggle just described, where I believe they've now picked the top 8 and are going into brackets. Don't quote me on that.
Yep, we are entering the bracket phase now. Well, I say we as the collective. I'm not. I finished bottom.
And then we are also doing what we're calling a ladder tournament, where we are doing weekly asynchronous races and using an ELO system, which in a couple of weeks we will take the top 10 folks and go into the playoffs of that as well.
Yeah, I actually wanted to climb on the ladder this time round, but with the way work has been working in healthcare, as you yourself have known in the past, it's been a bit hectic, but it'll be a few weeks before we start the next lot up again. Yeah. And it's just it seems to be every 5 or 6 weeks there's always something new going on. It's plenty of people are up for the challenge. If you've got an idea, run it by us in Discord. We'll see what we can do.
Yep, absolutely. We are 100% willing to, help you start an event if you want to. Open to new ideas. I do not personally have the bandwidth to take your idea and run it for you. And I don't think most of the admin team does. But if you have an idea that you want to step up and organize, I will give you all the resources you need.
I mean, one of the lesser known ones, but it's still going quite strong. It has been reset a few times, is what people have come to call the living seed, where it starts off one week as a base set of flags, and then everyone who enters gets to pick one part of the flags to change. And, well, yeah, it kind of got out of control several times. You can blame Jax for that one. And I may or may not have put Funbaba free loose in several times.
All right, Jex has gotten to the end of the Serpent Trench and picked up the Esper Phoenix. Jex is looking for 2 more Espers and 2 more characters, while Javinator's only looking for 3 Espers and 1 character. We are starting to get to the point where, runners are going to be expecting to start entering Kefka's Tower. I'm a perp. Actually, that was the very first Worlds Collide event that we did. We called it the Battle Royale. And I forget if it was the bottom time or the bottom 2 times each week got eliminated. But that was actually our very first event. And we are looking to rerun that at some point in the future. Although I do think after our 2 current events are going on, I think we're going to take a month or so off of running big events, just to let a lot of the people who run these events and who tend to do a lot of the work have a little bit of a break.
Yeah, it has been like over the past 12 months, just consistently like tournaments, planning. We've had quite a few charity marathons in the past few weeks and months. I ran a 24-hour one. You've done a few guest appearances on some as well, haven't you, recently? We're definitely getting the word out there.
Yeah.
And we just basically, if you want to come play, join us.
Yep. Funny story about the original Battle Royale. We started off with 23 people. It took 9 weeks to eliminate down to the final 4. One of my proudest moments was, though, week 7. I beat out both Drew and Jack went out on week 7. And I did not. Week 8, I continued there. Week 9, everyone else's time was in the 2-hour range, and I was at 3 hours and 28 minutes.
I remember that one.
That is a run that has gone down in some Worlds Collide infamy when I used the Infinite Retort glitch on a level 3 Cyan with a Pearl Rod to take out Kefka. For the record, that takes over 28 minutes. In case anyone is curious.
Yeah, I went out in the very first week of that tournament, so I didn't really get much of a run. And our most recent tournament winner has just appeared in chat. It's Jack, the aforementioned one. And Jack, he's good at this game, but don't tell anyone he only won the tournament because all the people who beat him last time weren't allowed to enter. Shh. And yeah, FF Master, if you look in the Discord, I'm sure it's in the all the clips and videos section. We've got quite a few very entertaining clips, bits of fights going on, from like the very rare triple Minerva drop off the Pugs encounter to like the we actually could see it this seed if someone keeps hold of Sabin. We've got the health commands, and if a character has reflect on and you use health, you see a lot of character bouncing across the screen action. And it's all kinds of funny glitches we come up with, we found in that channel. And there we go.
Took me a minute, but I found it. All right, where are we now? Shadow Sid is going through their 3 seasons of Frasier. Javinator is coming to the end of Daryl's tomb and has decided to nope out of that.
It's a Genji shield. The only shield you'd actually go through for is a Paladin shield, and 9 times out of 10, we don't allow freebie Paladin shields in the flags, just to make things a little bit more interesting.
Yep. I will never forget the one time I found a Paladin shield in Kefka's tower, and one of those chests that you just walk past. I now always check that chest. It's never been a Paladin shield again, but I still check it every single time.
No, what about the infamous Illumina in the Albrook weapon shop? What Boo found one race and no one else didn't, and then for about a month afterwards, everyone went to Albrook.
It happens.
We've got Red Baron doing a bit of cave diving in one of the worst checks of the game, in my opinion, because it's just so drawn out.
So, funny story about the Phoenix Cave. Do you remember when the Phoenix Cave was one of the top checks in the game?
I can remember watching the randomizer when Phoenix Cave used to be like the go-to check. It was back in the earlier versions, I believe, where it used to give you like a character and an Esper, or 2 Espers usually.
It was a guaranteed character and Esper at the very beginning, so it was like one of the top checks to go do, and this was before character gating, so you would just dive into Phoenix Cave and get 2 things that you knew you needed.
Yeah, I think I first started with the randomizer when character gating was introduced, so I'm a lot more comfortable with the normal way we play with character gating as opposed to the old open world style. But I do remember like seeing like people discussing, yep, go here, do this, do that on YouTube and on Twitch itself.
Yep, that was the meta at the time.
And now the meta, it's the, well, it depends really if the free launch flag's set on, where the checks what don't require some kinds of effort put in to them actually yield something or not.
Yep.
Because a lot of people now, if they've got a character who's got a free lunch or 2 free lunch checks, they'll work that in with the treasure hunting, and usually by then they've got enough gear to take their little level 3 party past like a level 10 or 12 boss.
And it looks like we have found a shadow with Morph. Morph is, I don't want to say secretly one of the best abilities in the game, because I don't think it's so much of a secret. I think people just forget about it sometimes.
It's overlooked. We all know how good Morph is, but a lot of the time, I liken it to an elixir. You end up with so many of them, or in the case of Morph, so many magic points fueling it. By the end, you're like, what do I do with them all now? It's like, oh, I could have used that to double my damage. Yeah, but what if I needed to double my damage in the next fight?
Yep. Something I regularly just forget exists. Or you could go the Jack method. Use it in every fight.
Yep. That's generally one thing you'll see. Use Morph, your physical damage doubles. I think your magic damage is doubled. If you've got elemental rod or shield, the damage that will put out when it's broken is doubled. You get the picture. Morph can melt through a lot of the bosses especially in the early phases where you're struggling to try and get some levels on board. And there's Genji gloves for sale in South Figaro, so Jex is going from one shop to the other and going to buy more Ragnaroks by the looks of it. And Jex is basically going to go into full holiday mode.
Yep, that is one of the things that having this much randomness inside of the chests and shops sort of pushes people towards is you are more likely to find more powerful weapons and items, so you're more likely to be able to go for those physical strats.
Yep, and one of the big proponents of the physical strats or holiday modes is Jack, who, all jokes aside and heckling, sometimes does actually know what he's talking about and doing with this game. And just watching him unlock his seed the way he plays, it's scary.
Yep. There are a lot of different ways to approach this randomizer and even approach racing, and they all have their own their own like benefits and drawbacks. One thing I've noticed watching Jack race a lot is that Jack has an incredibly deep knowledge of vanilla Final Fantasy VI, and he is able to use that to get through a lot of things at lower levels with less resources than a lot of other players are able to do. So I like to call Jack's method, I do everything with my face.
Whereas myself, I don't really have as much vanilla knowledge of the game. Most of my knowledge of Final Fantasy VI is actually through Worlds Collide and owning the Game Boy Advance remake version of it, because UK here, we kind of don't get these games till a lot later than the rest of the world. So a lot of my approach tends to be, well, that worked, let me try this. And I think we've got a bit of that going on with Red Baron, who's basically like, okay, I've got Grand Train, I've got this, let's go for it this week, let's see if this helps.
Absolutely.
And to be fair, he's keeping pace with everyone for his first live restream.
Yeah, absolutely doing very, very well. Very impressed. And for certain things, or for runners who get their chance to be on a restream for the first time, I find it very, very instructional to go back and watch what the other players were doing while I was running this seed as well. It helps me figure out, like, oh, they made a different choice here, and this is how it played out for them, and helps me learn new strats. I have learned more strats watching other people play than I have, done on my own, to be frank.
Yeah, I mean, I will watch back all the weekly restreams, even if I'm not on them. If I'm in the race myself, I'll watch it. And ooh, we've got an imp robot.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh. So in the auction house, there's the possibility of there being 0, 1, or 2 espers for sale. Unfortunately, there is also the imp robot. And this cutscene never ends.
And there's also a pod bracelet for sale. But I think the imp robot would be a bit more useful.
I mean, the bracelet is a little bit more useful, but...
Yeah, but the bracelet you normally find in a chest and go, oh, I can sell that. The imp robot you could push in front of an angry Senor Behemoth while you run away.
If only we could buy it. One thing that a lot of players do when they are looking for that. Actually, here's something I just remembered. There are two sort of trains of thought on the auction house. There are a group of runners who do the auction house early. Once they get enough money, they are going to go check the auction house and see what the Esper is. This is going to give them access to that Esper far earlier than a lot of other players will. And if that Esper has, a Bolt 3 or a Merton or Flare or some other very powerful spell, they're going to have access to it earlier. Most runners I've seen tend to do auction house as a last resort of I do not want to deal with this unless I have to.
Yep. We got Carbuncle there for in the 10,000 GP slot. So that's one confirmed, one down, and Javanator has hit the requirements, as has Jex. So we've got our top two runners heading into KT, or doing the final bits before heading in, and the bottom two aren't too far behind.
Yeah, no, we Shadow Sid needs one character, one Esper. Red Baron needs, at this point, one character, two Espers. We are well on our way to being at the end. One of the good things about, what I call one of my random chaos seeds is you tend to get better tools available because the chests are more random.
Red Baron's just grabbed a dragon horn from the auction house, so if he puts that on his Gao,
that he doesn't have.
He hasn't got Gao. Ooh, that's a kicker.
Yep, I'm curious to see what ends up being Red Baron and Shadow Sid's 7th character. We know where 7th characters are, but they don't. So, and Jack, yes, Flare is not a very powerful spell in terms of raw power, but it is a very useful tool that can get you through fights when you need to. For the casting time and the mana cost, Flare is underpowered and underwhelming. But as an example, it is a guaranteed way to get through Magimaster because it is non-elemental. And that is some fixed dice that Javanator just found. I would actually be kind of surprised if he even equipped them.
I'll probably put them on Amaro at this point just for the meme factor. Because fixed dice, they're a lot more useful either at the start or when you're loaded up with elemental aligned weapons and you come to tier 3 and you realise, I don't have anything non-elemental to hit Gale with.
And we are finding the piranhas and Rizzopass fight. Never something I want to see just because it takes so long to fillet the fish.
Indeed, even with the shortened times we have for the fish now. That's Shadow Sid Farm Magimaster. And Magimaster, is that? Yep. That's a near 3,000 damage meteor, but he's got Amaro in the party. That's not going to help.
He has Berserk. All he has to do is use Berserk on Magimaster and the magic stops.
Yep. Using Berserk on Magimaster is the ideal way to bypass one of his most dangerous facts because of his absurd magic. Granted, he'll still hit you like a truck, especially in the end game area of the seed, but it'll stop you getting bombarded with the elemental spells and then the status and elemental spells. But I mean, like you see there, his physical defense is just too much. And yep, you could, if you're out of other options, do what I once did and cast Rasp on him for a full hour whilst on the restream. Because if you deplete all Magimaster's MP, it counts as a victory.
I think Jex was listening to you because his Yeti is currently using the fixed dice. We have a gambling Sasquatch.
Well, using the Sasquatch is a gamble at times, as we've seen throughout this seed. When they've ran into Doomgaze, it's been healing them. When they've ran into Magimaster, it's been proccing all the wall changes and making it more unpredictable. But sometimes you can get that random chance of getting the high roll on the fixed dice, and it can sometimes be a bit more consistent than a Ragnarok swing.
It has a higher ceiling and a lower floor, but I would never call fixed dice more consistent.
It'll actually hit Magimaster for damage compared to a Ragnarok.
Okay, fair. Okay, fair. Fixed dice does ignore defense, and that's mostly because it uses a completely separate damage formula and goes...
Which does not work at all.
And goes, defense, what's that? So we've still got our top two runners there, our Jays in Kefka's Tower, making their way through quite rapidly. And Red Baron and Shadow Sid are not that far behind. Each of them only needs one or two things to get into Final Kefka. And there's Shadow Sid going to nope out of that check.
Daryl's Tomb, even though it's quick, it's a check I do tend to bypass a lot of the time, just because it's personal experience, it's not really worth it. A lot of the time it does end up being a dead check for myself. I mean, a Genji shield at this stage, it's just a bit of a letdown, really.
Yeah, it's just... This game sort of got let down. The top tier gear gets a little let down by the fact that the elemental shields, which were supposed to be, quote unquote mid-game gear, are just better than things like Aegis, Force, and Genji shields, because the elemental resistances and absorptions are just so good.
The elemental shields give Merton strats, and that's all that matters. And first up in the Guardian spot, we've got Atma. So it seems he's climbed out of his toilet cell and has sat on top of the weird machine turret gun thing.
Yep. I will also say that, aside from the triple cranes, we haven't seen that many repeated bosses. A lot of times when you have a random boss seed, there tends to be a theme of this one boss shows up 16 times. So... And as Jack points out, raw stats on gear is basically always outdone by special effects, whether that's elemental absorption, or it ignores defense, or it does triple damage to flying enemies when you get a critical hit on the sniper, as an example. Those will almost always beat, just raw top stats.
And Shadow Sid has just melted Doomgaze with Merton strats. You love to see it.
Yep, but he is not loving to see that economizer at this point.
Well, actually, if he's going to just mainline hold a Merton, I'd be putting that economizer on. It's an improvement over the gold hairpin he was using.
And he has, but... if I'm Shadow Sid, I'm not upset to see an economizer here, but I'm not happy about it.
Oh, we found Kefka again. He's climbed down from his pyramid. So
That
does that
Kefka's
mean
not long for the world.
Jex wins because he beat the Kefka in the tower first? I'm confused. We've had two supposed winners.
I know, right? Well, you know what? We still haven't seen the end of the game yet, the credits. So I guess we're just gonna have to keep going.
And we still haven't seen Funbaba 3.
Funbaba 3 might just be Sir not appearing in the seed.
Aww.
Alright, so Shadow Sid is now climbing up Narsh. I think he's in World of Balance.
Yeah, he's in World of Balance, so
He saw that there is Gao at the end of Umaro's check, which he already knows because he's the one who has Gao and Red Baron's the one who doesn't. Whoops.
Well, Red Baron will soon be getting Gao.
Oh, Shadow Sid is finding Realm. Realm is at Kefka at Narsh.
So to think the community's mascot character, for the easiest way to describe her, the adorable murder child Realm, has been available since the start. Nothing was gating her.
Yep. Highest magic power in the game. However, I'd be very surprised if she made the cut at this point, even with that. Maybe if she has the shock ability, would we see her get use here?
Yeah, it's this stage in the seed. It's too late to start trying to cram spells onto her, unless she's got something like jump or shock. Yeah, shock might not be good endgame. Thanks for pointing that out, Jack. We were going to get to it eventually. It would be the only reason to put her in your main party for the final approach. But yeah, shock being the attack made famous by the retainer rage, or everyone's favourite non-playable character, even though you can control him very briefly, Leo. Shock is more useful in the early game because it's non-elemental, high power, multi-target. So, for instance, that Pipsqueak encounter there, you wipe them out, and ooh, that's a Rex Soul up on the battle at Narsh.
Rexol is actually one of the bosses that gets affected by normalize and distort stats, and I have fought a Rexol with their magic defense was maxed out, which meant that Ice 3s were doing like 2 damage.
And the jumping Gao has the Pearl Lance on. It's just healed Rexol for 4,500 health.
You know, great times had by all.
Yeah, Rexol, it's in his vanilla behavior. If you had the Raiden or Odin on, you could just end the battle instantly because Rexol would disappear, and then you'd insta-kill both the Soul Savers at the same time, and boss dead. However, because the whole Zinger mechanic can be a bit of an inconvenience, and a lot of us prefer to run face first through this boss, we disable Zinger so you can always attack the Rexol. But with this party set up, Sid's going to be here for quite a while. I would have reset out even at this stage of the game. And we've got Tentacles and number 128 in Kefka's Tower as well.
So, I mean, it looks like our boss randomization has been actually quite kind tonight. I will say that while I did design the flags, I did not roll the seed. So, you know, it's not 100% a Rav seed. It's close, though.
We can always cross our fingers on the normalize and distort Jack and Gale's health up to absurd levels.
Once again, my favorite part.
Yeah, trying to wear Gale down to the point where you accidentally kill Sleep is a bit of a rough tier 3.
Yep, although all of our runners have way more than enough offense that I am not worried about. Even if every single stat was maxed, I think they'd still be able to get through it.
Yeah, there's a hell of a lot of non-elemental damage on all these players at the minute. We've seen Offer and Valiant Knife, we've seen a lot of stuff, and to answer that statement for you, Jack, Jack sold the family farm, the neighbour's farm, and someone else's farm down the street to spend all his money on Ragnaroks and Genji gloves. So Jack's going, and apparently, Rav, we have to see if you weigh the same as a duck.
Because looks like that is shock. Again, it's debatably useful at this point. I think
I'd call it, chip damage. Need the odd 2,000 health here and there.
Yeah, I think the actual problem is that it's just not powerful enough, and what I mean by that is actually it splits damage.
Yeah, it's what a roughly same base power as like Suplex or Ultimate near enough, isn't it? But unlike those where the damage isn't split, and Suplex actually does split damage in some weird way for some reason, even though it's only one person you're attacking. But the point stands, it's a high power attack, but when it spreads across 4 or 5 targets, like in this, ooh, that was a big hit on Setzer.
Ooh, rough.
That's the problem with the glass cannon approach. You might be able to hit hard, but, well, as Saban demonstrated, you can take a hit in a snow muffler. But if you can't wear a snow muffler...
I have the information on how powerful exactly shock is. I just can't pull it up right now.
Yeah. Yeah, so going back to the shock thing and damage splitting, it's like in a multi-tier boss, like the final battle, which Jex is running through now, a single Ragnarok swing from Locke or Celeste is doing more than Shock would to the same target. Like Shock might do 2,500, 3,000 tops, depending on whether the character's got earrings or a hero ring, whether they've had the magic stat buff by an Esper or not. But generally, you're going to out-damage it by just physical attacking or casting a tier 3 spell. Like Fire 3, Bolt 3. Either of those will probably match your damage blow for blow with a Ragnarok, depending on how your party's geared up.
Yep. But Jex is very quickly making Swiss cheese out of this first tier, especially now that so good. Oh no, that's not good.
Oh, yeah, paper sets has gone down. Now, depending on how crucial Setzer might have been for his whole game plan, tier 1 is probably the point where you'd reset if you lost the character to try again, like the quick rebound, like go out, like, oh crap, hit reset, re-equip, maybe get some more defense or back row Setzer, and then go in again because you can get through quick. But now with tier 2 shenanigans and Gambler Yeti, I think Jex has got to commit to this approach.
At this point, you're probably thinking it's an hour and 38 minutes into this seed. I'm in Kefka's tower. I'm sure other people are as well. So I wouldn't be risking a reset at this point. I would be trying to push through personally, because I would be pretty convinced if I reset that I would be giving up first place.
Yeah, well, we talk about this like I'm in Kefka's tower. I think other people will be. Jav is one tier behind, and Barren and Sid are both on the same fight. The Red Baron being slightly ahead because he's managed to get Rizzapass on the screen, whereas, yep, it's still more piranhas for Sid, but Shock, Jump and Gal, and a Rag Swinging Yeti all plough through the waves till it's time for Rizzapass to show up.
Yep. I will say one challenge that Javinator's going to face right now is that Valiant Knife does more damage the less HP you have. I didn't see if he has a True Knight or anything like that to try to help, Locke survive here. But, it is a dangerous strat to go through with a low health character.
We're seeing, that's a very Stone Sabin there. A Delta hit has just come out on tier 2. This is the type of shenanigans we were talking about. Where the reason why we don't scale Final Kefka is because it's tricky and punishing enough as it is without artificially enhancing the difficulty of the fight. I mean, just in tier 1, the 3 arms, well, the 2 arms and the head, the amount of damage what those arms can dish out is massive. And, Jav took a reset there as Celeste got punched out at the end of tier 1.
Yeah. And, that's one of those things, I might not make that choice, but I think it is a completely respectable choice to make if it's one of your, main damage dealers, most important party members.
I will actually say, on Tuesday evening, I had my final race of the draft tournament against Jack, and we both hit go mode at the same time. We both entered the final battle at the same time. The main difference between us was I took a wipe on tier 1 and lost 3 people to a quake.
Oof.
Whereas Jack managed to go through. And basically I had to reset out because I had no backup whatsoever for my party to come in. And I usually do try to do Kefka with the tower with the smallest number of characters possible.
Yep.
So for me, it was reset territory, and as you've seen now, Jav's coming in. He's following the formula. He just knows to keep an eye out on those punches and procs. I think he could draw level with Jex on how Jex's tier 2's going, because it's been really brutal with him. I mean, 10 hits there. Each one's hitting for over 1,000. Ow!
It's, I think we had some battle power or vigor stat increases here with our normalize and distort, because those were doing quite a bit of damage to Umaro, and Umaro comes with a snow muffler, which maxes out your physical defense.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reason why a lot of us will go for the, like, if we see Ragnarok's in the shop, we'll do what Jack's done and sell everything, is because not only is it a big stat stick, along with being a useful weapon, its evasion factor, it's up there with some of the good shields. So sometimes you can get by on just having the evasion from 2 Ragnaroks. Granted, it's not the same as having a single Paladin shield or an Illumina, but you will see a lot of the runners will have those upper tier weapons or equipment what boosts evade for this purpose. Because, you take one hit like that, it's just... I mean, like, we've got Jav resorting to life free strats on tier 1. How often do we see that?
I mean, it's not super common, but again, that's one of those things, normalize and distort, like, it makes you have to react to the fight a little bit more. It makes you have to be a little bit more cautious because you're not guaranteed to get through and to do everything the way that you expect to do it, because, they're going to have more power, they're going to have more defense, they're going to have more HP. It's one of the reasons why I like the flag.
Yeah, and here we go. Here's what will probably be the trickier part. Jex has managed to claw his 4 characters through, but now he comes to... Basically, I call this the Widowmaker part, because tier 3, more often than not, will make or break a run.
So tier 3 is definitely the tier that I spend most of my game preparing for. I want to make sure that I am ready to deal with this tier. I need to have non-elemental damage, and preferably I want to have some sort of calmness protection. I actually think tier 2 is secretly, like, harder and can often do more to you.
Yeah, it's like we've glossed over a lot of the tiers, but we'll be able to go over them a little bit more once the likes of Barren and Sid reach it. But it's like the way with the difference between like tier 2 and 3 is like the sheer speed of how quickly it can go downhill on tier 3. Because it's like very hair trigger HP threshold between getting smashed by Meteo 3 times on the run and losing most of your party to being hit by, say, Merton or Train. Whereas on tier 2, it's like, well, we're only going to get hit really bad by 10 hits once we deplete its HP, or get the dispels and gravity bombs, or a character gets frozen.
Yeah. I think Barren bailed out of Kefka's tower to try to go get a few more items, and then I'm not sure if they just reloaded another save. Yeah, I think they just reloaded their save here and is trying that again. Oh my good lord, Jex is having some trouble with tier 3. Those Meteos are being mean.
And Kat, our ever-helpful tracker, has just pointed out that Barren did indeed leave the tower to go on a supply run, but unfortunately there's a gentleman who patrols the sky called Magimaster, and his plane kind of got pulled over by him, and it didn't end well with one character. And oh, Jex. Ouch.
Oh no. So this is one of those things, normalize and distort stats really, really makes the final Kefka fight more of a challenge. And I like seeing our runners face real tough challenges.
Yeah, I mean, Final Kefka, like we've said numerous times tonight, is difficult enough on its own. The fact that it seems his attack power in all different ways has been increased. Jax can take solace, like Jack said, in the fact that everyone else is going to have to deal with 3k meteors. At least I know it's there. So we'll see if Jax approaches this tower climb slightly differently. I mean, it'd be interesting to see how Javinator handles it, because he's got the Valiant Knife strats going on. And eating a Meteor normally is a surefire way to rack the damage up, but if he's got a lock with what, 1800, 2000 health tops, he's not gonna survive a Meteor.
I think your best bet with the Meteor is to hope it doesn't hit you.
And Red Baron running into the Daedalus pack there. He forgot to put a Moogle charm on, which I don't think I've ever done that before. Accidentally walked into a Magic Master because bosses were putting normal encounters once in a Seed of the Week.
I can't imagine who would have done such a thing.
What, actually done it or made the seed? Because I think it was one of the Seeds of the Week I submitted. So I knew it could have happened and I still done it. So yeah, we see Jav is getting the life freeze up. He's getting the shells on through the Zone Seek summon.
I'm not sure Shell's really going to help you here.
It might help a little bit maybe with the Meteor and the Maiden.
So
apparently Shell ain't gonna do nothing. I stand corrected. Sorry, Jack.
So I think what I would try to do here is get Sleep to where he's just about to go into his Meteor phase, which is right around 10,000 HP. It's a little harder to count that here because we don't have we don't know exactly how much HP they have.
Yeah.
But what you can do is once he gets to that Meteor phase, you can cast a Cure on him to put him back over that HP threshold.
Oh.
And
We've got quick Valiant Knife strats going on because Locke has quick and he's just been hit by a whirlwind.
Whirlwind, West Wind. I don't know what it is. Windy wind.
Whatever it is, it's ramping up the damage. Locke's putting out about 18,000 to 20,000 damage there. He's just ripping through Kefka now.
Yep.
And
one
bye-bye,
Celeste on Celis.
Life 3 saves the day.
Life 3 on both of them. Very good. Very good.
Yeah. That there is why Ravlin was saying he prepares a lot throughout the seed for tier 3. Calmness is a physical based instant death move, which means that only things like Image, a Mirage Vest, Vanish status, Golem, and Life 3, or having an insanely high evade can prevent it from hitting you. And when that person's killed, as you've seen, the next one in your party order gets put in. 9 times out of 10, the game knows who's going to be the difference maker in the final battle. It will hit Calmness on that person.
Every time. Every single time. So
okay.
Now, Celis is going to put up Life 3 again, using Quick, and using Quick on Lock. So I think we're going to see quite a bit of damage about to be put out from Lock here. It is possible if you have double Valiant Knives and enough HP and hit after Fallen One to one-shot Kefka, although we don't quite have that here. And that, I think that's okay.
Well, we have him on 1 HP now. He's cast quick. Let's count.
Yeah, I mean,
18,000. Yeah. Well, that's 36,000 damage straight out the gate. And we've got Merton going on. We've got life 3. This is going to come down to an ultimate counter.
But again, we've got life 3 on everyone, so I think we're going to be okay here. It is definitely nerve-wracking at this point. Oh, Red Baron takes a wipe to Atma. Oh, goodness, I'm so sorry, my dude.
Flare Star. A very, very unpredictable attack.
All right, so now is the time to do as much damage as humanly possible for Javinator, because while Kefka is charging up this Goner, he will not counter, and there we go. We have the crack boom flash bang. Javinator comes in first with an official time of, I am in the wrong chat channel. There we go. 154.54. Let's see if he can come chat with us.
54. Sorry, I had to put the Lou Dolphin meme in. So yeah, what?
And we are joined by Javinator. GG, well played. 154.54. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. That was wasn't like a super tough seed, but it was tough. It was so I'm feeling good. Feeling all right.
Yeah, for the usual, whenever you see the random bosses, you're thinking, oh god, it's the wall of Doomgazers again. We didn't really have much of the repeat offenders. How did that really change up your approach throughout the seed?
Not really. So I noticed it, and it only happened a couple times on pretty easy bosses. The ones it did happen on, obviously were pretty easy, and then otherwise, yeah, Doomgazes would be bad. But the only ones I'm really worried about in a repeat kind of situation are the tricky ones like Magi Master. And with Berserk available, I wasn't too worried about that. I also had Fire available if there was like a Tri-Talk or something. So it didn't affect me too much, to be honest.
Yeah, so, and sigh of relief there, you managed to avoid Fumbaba 3.
Yeah. I was actually a little bit worried because I hadn't seen him yet, so I figured it would be a standard Ravlin situation where he was in Kefka's tower, but luckily did not find that Fumbaba, so definitely happy about that.
Yeah, no one on the restream found Fumbaba 3, so it could be hiding in a check, or as Ravlin said, it could be say not appearing in this race.
Yep. Very possible, very possible. Which I'm okay with, because I hate that. But I think everybody does.
Yeah. So, how did you feel about the final fight with Kefka?
I felt like an idiot when I let Celis die there on tier 1, because I knew she had poor physical defense, and so I knew she had the Minerva, and I went and attacked anyway, knowing I would take a crit, or take a physical back. So anyway, that felt really dumb, because I knew I had snow mufflers on Sabin and Gao, who could easily take that hit. So anyway, that felt dumb. Other than that, it wasn't too bad. I know with normalizing Distort, it can be really scary, and I didn't have a mute for tier 2, so it was really a slow and steady situation. I had life, I had Phoenix Downs, so I had a bunch of get out of jail free cards. I had health on Sabin, so it was really just a slow and steady wins the race kind of situation.
Well, it certainly pays off for you, because Jax was like the first one, like on 2. The like later stages of the tower since you took the reset out and went through again, and Jax has been brutally hit hard by it, whereas your more measured approach pays off. You managed to overtake him. I mean, right now he's having a hell of a time on tier 3.
Yeah, I figured because you know you can kind of take a peek and spoil it for yourself in Discord, and I saw him typing, which meant different people do it different ways. But usually you start typing done either when you start the Kefka fight at tier 1 or when you start tier 4. And so I was like, wow, he's way ahead of me because I thought he might have been on tier 4. And then nothing happened, and then there was no finish from him, so I figured something must have gone wrong.
3,000 plus damage Meteo.
Yeah, Meteo on normalize and distort is insane. I was actually super worried about that because I wasn't counting HP, and I was just swinging like crazy with lock, and I was really worried that he was actually going to land close to killing Sleep without actually killing Sleep, and I would have to eat a couple Meteos, and that would have wiped me. So I was definitely scared of that.
Well, your quick shenanigans and life free and sandbag tactic pays off because you managed to dodge the Meteor wave the way it is, but as it stands, like, Jax has just had to bust out Phoenix to get his entire party standing again. And I believe while we were talking, there was a pale wing cast from Gale, so everything he's done kind of got undone.
Yeah. Oh no.
It is certainly a challenging final fight, which, you know, I'm a fan of watching, but, you know, I'm mean. Any final thoughts for us, Javinator, before we turn our attention to the final Kefka fights?
No, nothing really. I think my biggest challenge that whole race was the menu. I could not decide what I wanted to do with those Ragnaroks and items that kept coming in, and it was like the perfect items would come in to make me want to change things around again. So I probably lost some pretty significant time with that. But otherwise, it wasn't a crazy seed. For normalize and distort seed, they can usually be a lot worse. This one was relatively generous, so it wasn't too bad, and it was a lot of fun. Thanks to the Restream team for making this happen, and GG everybody, and thanks for watching.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night, guys.
See you, mates.
And it looks like Jax has taken another wipe and has forfeited out of the race. I completely understand.
Total, like, sympathy and support to that decision there. It's bad enough wiping once to final, like, Kefka, but to do it at the same time, in the same spot again, it's crushing. But, like, GG Jax, I mean, it was one hell of a race watching you and Jav just going through it near enough neck and neck the entire way.
And looks like he will come in and give us a little a talking to about what's going on here. And let's see if I can switch our sound around to hear.
Right, while Ravlin is doing the sorcery behind the scenes, we have got Sid approaching tier 3, and gotta say, Jax, GG.
GG's. That was
You put on one hell of a show, man. And my heart goes out to you for tier 3.
I just didn't have the defense to just muscle my way through that. No calmness protection. I had no shields. You know, like I figured the defensive value from the Ragnaroks would be enough, but they seriously were not cutting it today.
Yeah, unfortunately, normalised and distort is the great leveler. It's just sometimes it giveth, most of the time it taketh.
It gave to me throughout the entire seed, and then final Kefka just whipped me.
Yep,
Twice.
Final Kefka came calling to collect the interest.
That he did. But other than that, like the scene went smooth. I mean, like, it seems like I was pretty far ahead of everyone until I ate that first death.
Yeah, basically you were almost near enough neck and neck with Javinator in parts. You got into the meat and bones of the tower first because, pardon me, I'm going to smash everything in half with Ragnarok's approach, just cut through Kefka's tower. So me and Ravlin thought, yeah, you've got this easily. And then when we saw the way Tier 1 was throwing those punches, everyone in chat was like, "Oh!" I mean, you had Jack backing you in chat, like, "I approve of this strategy. Holt, you've got the rags. Let's do it." And then just the way the tiers played out for you.
Yeah, just Final Kefka didn't play out. I mean, like, having a mithril armor on Setzer did not help one bit.
Yeah, Setzer ate Leo and then some of that death counter hit. I haven't seen stuff like that since when we brought in the random abilities and Final right arm once death countered with a flare for 8,000 damage.
Wait, Tier 1 was death countering with flares? Ouch.
Yep, gotta love full abilities.
Yeah, on top of everything, I thought, like, maybe Zone Seek would help mitigate the pile of damage, and it did not.
No, unfortunately, Shell isn't as good in Final Fantasy VI as it is in the likes of 4, 5, and 7, where it actually has a function. And Jack pointed out in chat, like, Shell was going to do nothing because a lot of the stuff Final Kefka throws is defense piercing. So no matter how much you were throwing
Good thing
up,
I wasn't swearing.
only having maybe an increased M block from, like, you know, a force armor or a force shield would have helped.
Yeah, I unfortunately sold all that for Ragnarok's and Genji gloves.
I mean, it's a move a lot of us would do ourselves, so we can't blame you. However, we do have one question about your approach. Tier 2.
Yes.
Why did you leave Tools and Tiger alive for so long?
Because they don't do the really crazy stuff. You know, like, yeah, they hit hard. Tiger barely did anything. While Hit, I usually save Tiger for last, because I can usually just breeze through him, no problem. Hit, I like to... It depends on, like, the stuff that I have available. I mean, like, if I had Mute or Siren, I would have saved Magic for last, hands down. But I didn't, so Magic needed to go.
Yeah,
because I had no elemental protection except for a Minerva on Celeste. So it's not like I could be sitting there eating fire 3s and who knows what else it's throwing at me.
Yeah, I kind of get the logic there, but I am contractually obligated to pass on this message from Boo Jack, which is, Jax, you're crazy, Tiger is the most dangerous.
You see, I've never had an issue with Tiger.
Well,
I rarely have an issue with Tiger.
Well, you might have looked through it, but Tier 3 certainly had an issue with you tonight, man.
Tier 3 hated my guts.
N&D give, N&D takes.
Yep. Well, anyways, thanks for the restream, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and catch you all around.
All right. Thank you so much. GG.
GG.
And here we have Sid coming in second place with an hour of with an hour of time. Oh, geez. Let me try that again.
I wish.
With a time of 2 hours and 7 minutes flat. GG, well played. What'd you think?
Not so bad. There was some really tough stuff at the beginning, like that Doomgaze out of nowhere. And that was just a struggle to get through, but once I found Realm, it was like, hey, go mode. It's fine.
You are actually the only person who went and got Realm. What factored into your choice to actually use Realm instead of leaving her behind?
She had shock, and I thought, oh, like, that's cool. And I'm like, oh, wait, she could be another Merton user. Like, okay, let's see what her equip can do. So I shuffled around the equipment. Like, oh, yeah, she can fit into Merton, and I can control her, unlike the Yeti. That was pretty much the thought. She wasn't that much lower level than Umara was.
Reasonable.
So, when you mentioned you had your struggle with Doomgaze, which, to be honest, in any seed, Doomgaze is generally a struggle. What was going through your head when you realised that Umaro was actually healing him with the Blizzard Orbs and his "I'm going to keep doing Storm" routine?
Oh, he was doing that on, like, everybody. Like, there were so many bosses in a row that were, hey, I'm just going to absorb ice. And I wanted to, kind of back out of that fight, but, like, I'm either going to die out of this, and I did. So I'll come back later if I need it. And I didn't, although I think it was a Valiant Knife, or it was something that was useful. Economizer, maybe?
If it was the Doomgaze at the lock check at Tunnel Armor spot, then it was the Economizer. The Valiant Knife was Collision in, I believe.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right there. That makes sense.
Well, yeah, a lot of people made the mistake of putting the Blizzard Orb on the Yeti right at the start, and it just, the way the sea fell, you got all the bosses who like the cold.
Yeah. I mean, it was useful for Merton strats later, so I enjoyed that I had it. And it was still strong. Like, it wasn't weak against the things that, the trash trying to get out of the way. It was just like 3 or 4 bosses in a row.
So, how did you find Kefka this evening?
Oh, that tier 3. That was... I didn't realize I wasn't muted on my screen. I was just kind of being quiet. So I'm thankful that I did not say some very choice words.
I mean, I can't imagine why you would have any choice words for this final Kefka fight at all.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah, of course, those are the two. Those are the two you want to take out with calmness? Sure, whatever. Like, I guess it could have been worse. It could have been Locke and Celeste, and then I would have been a little more stuck.
Yeah, we had both Jav and Jex took wipes to final Kefka. At one point, with the restart factor, you were on tier 1 when Jex was on tier 2 on his second time round. You were coming close to catching up, and then out of nowhere, those big 4-5k punches from tier 1, putting your characters on the deck the way they did.
Yeah, I was actually kind of worried that Locke wasn't going to go through on to tier 2, and I would have just reset. Yeah, same on tier 2, where I was like, oh, for sure I'm losing some characters here because I thought I'd already killed her.
Yeah, Kefka was pretty rough with everyone. I mean, tier 1, I mean, Jex was a madman for taking in a mithril armor setter, because he literally spent all his money on Genji gloves and Ragnaroks hoping for the evasion to work, but he just got unlucky with the evasion procs, and his setter just hit the deck off, like, the long arm death punch.
Yeah, that's rough. I can't imagine going in there without the snow mufflers that were available so early. Like the game just kind of handed those out too.
Yeah, in South Figaro, you could buy Ragnarok's Genji gloves, snow mufflers, all that stuff.
Yeah, that was a good town. Oh, my favorite part of this seed, Magitech Factory on the cart.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I hope you like cranes.
Yep. Where you unfortunately fell victim to A, the 10% random boss chance in fixed encounter, and B, the fact that MTech 3, the way the fixed encounters work is encounters 1 is like say pack A, and then encounters 2 and 3 is pack B. So unfortunately for yourself, the boss and pack B all happen to be the same thing. So it was just groundhog train rides.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have to worry about, can I kill this boss at the end of it? It's like, oh, it's another set of crane? Okay. Let's go.
Yeah, be thankful. In the past, we've had the MTech train ride be Goddess Doom, and Floating Continent be one unlucky person managed to get 3 goddesses back when everyone didn't get the same encounter path.
That's a do I have other options available to me because I don't want to do that type of set.
Yeah, the seed was fairly kind with like where the random bosses were concerned. You know, with the occasional Doomgaze pop up. Everything else was generally kind. I mean, Jack said he found Atma in Serpent Trench,
Yes,
as
me
well
too.
as in the tower. But other than that, it was mostly like the friendlier ends of the scale. I guess Kefka kind of made up for it.
When I saw Atma and Serpent Trench, I went, nope, just out of there. Reset. Not doing like 4 or 5 Atmas in a row.
Yeah,
Fair.
luckily Serpent Trench is a little bit more random, so you can actually get a few different packs in there, but for MTech, generally whatever you see in Encounter 2 is going to be Encounter 3 as well.
All right. So, any last thoughts for us, Sid, before we go ahead and focus our attention on the Red Baron as he goes into his first on restream Kefka fight?
Ooh, I'm gonna have to watch that. Only thought is, I think this is my 3rd or 4th stream in a row where I fell back to Merton strats, and that makes me happy. I like Merton strats. I don't usually get to run them in my own seeds.
Mate and go burr.
Right. So yeah, GG's everybody.
GG, thank you.
GG, dude. It's a great showing.
Alrighty. Now we have the Red Baron coming in. This is going to be a challenging fight, as we have seen with our other 3 runners. So let's hope he is prepared for what is ahead.
Right, so it's been glossed over a few times, but now we can put all attention onto the final Kefka fight. As you've seen, it's a multi-tier fight. Each tier has between 2 to 4 components, and all of them do different things. Tier 1 is predominantly physical based. It hits like a truck, and you have to kill parts off in a certain order and individually, or things end a bit ugly. Like, the main aim is the left arm, or what we all call long arm, is vulnerable to instant death. The head is vulnerable to fire, and it counters with Quake if it is the last part standing. The short arm is the one which is normally killed last because its counter is slip hit, which is an average physical what inflicts HP sap, and it's a bit more easier to manage than triple shockwave or quake. The danger with what Barren is doing right now is when he's been thrown out mating, if you kill head and one of the arms at the same time, you will trigger both death counters. And the quake isn't an easy one to shrug off.
You are absolutely correct. It is certainly, a challenging fight, and it's something that you end up having to keep a lot of things in your head at once. Even though, tier 1 seems to be the tier that most people aren't that worried about. It's just some physicals, and you don't have to deal with Quake, as long as you take them out in the right order. Everything's fine, but it's not guaranteed. You can still run into issues here with it. Looks like he is going to take a reset here and change things up a little bit here. And
re-equip, reassess.
And I am going to change things up a little bit and give him a little bit more focus on the stream here.
Awesome. Like I say, I remember my first final Kefka on restream, and it was rough. I ended up miscounting on the Goner damage and Etten Ultima proc, I think, when I was one hit away from death. And that was about 14 months ago.
Yeah, we have certainly been, and not only have our runners improved, you've improved, everyone's improved going through this. So that's one of the things I really enjoy watching the improvement of various runners, present company included, over time.
Yeah, I mean, it's this, the display from the whole community. It used to originally just be you'd have Marth, Drew, Jack mainly dominated the weeklies. You get yourself, Falton, Entity would get the occasional one in, and then the likes of me, myself, Zelfa, and Boo all started around the same time. I mean, Zelfa and Boo up there now as two of the top tier runners. Both have got their own very unique style, and then more recently you've had Jex, Javanator, two who've really come in and shaken things up. Victor is another really solid newer runner, and self, I mean, the display we saw off Sid to get a 207 on this seed, I would have probably struggled to hit below 215 at the quickest watching this, because I would have done the same thing as Jax and ended up burning out.
Yeah, absolutely. It is very possible on a seed like this to just get inside your own head and get frustrated. Oh, ow, that hurt.
Yep. That's say tier 1. Its main thing is the physical damage. Once you get past this, tier 2 is where all the quirky fun begins.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see, is Barren going to be able to recover from this, or is he going to take another reset? I think actually trying to go for the break here on that long arm and trying to take out one of the enemies is actually a really good idea before he tries to get the other people back up, just to reduce the amount of incoming attacks.
Yeah, definitely. But the problem is Umaru's up and you can't control who he's going to be attacking. So there is that very small risk. Umaru might kill the short arm off before head while you're in the middle of trying to revive your party, and then next thing you know, oh, my newly revived people have just been swallowed by an abyss again.
You say getting swallowed by an abyss like it's a bad thing.
Well, there's some abysses you want to fall into, but the tier 1 Quake counter's not an abyss you want to fall into.
I do kind of like this strategy of casting Berserk on Locke, because that's all you want him to do is to just hit things as hard and as often as possible. And that does remove some decision making that needs to happen. You're not worried about hitting the wrong button or doing the wrong thing with him. I can get behind that choice.
Yeah, I mean, it is a good way. I mean, I've used Berserk shenanigans myself in the final Kefka battle before, but that was oh great, I've got dice as my main offense. Hell, let's put Berserk on. But the only issue is with the Berserk again, you need if you're relying on the Valiant Knife strategies, you're going to be spending too much time focusing on that one person while you're trying to do the whole pullback. I mean, now reverse polarities put Locke back in front. One punch is going to knock him down again. Like so.
Yeah. This is one of those, I think, as a runner, if I'm seeing normalize and distort, I might be incentivized to take just a little bit more time and a little bit more effort to really level up my characters a little bit more than I would normally. It makes the final Kefka fight harder.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm proponent of Valiant Knife hold A strats, and the way we're seeing Locke constantly being pulled up and down. I mean, you see that through my C constantly. Whoever can use a Valiant Knife will be in single figure health, most of it. But with normalize and distort, unless you are totally confident and you can lock the situation down to your advantage, playing on the low health strat isn't gonna help much. And here's the Quake, and it's just Celeste again.
Oof. I don't know who else he has and what level they are. I mean, it might be possible to just sort of brute force your way through it with Celis. Celis does have really the things that are needed to get through. It's just sort of, what's the backup here?
Yeah. Well, tier 2, now that we've actually got a chance to focus on it. 4 parts, from left to right. The dude pointing away is magic. As the name implies, he will pest you with magic, be it Imp, Fire 3, he'll cast Life 3 on the other parts. He's a pain. But if you have Siren or Mute, you can make him a non-factor. Next up is the little machine part, which is sticking out the back of the tiger's neck. We call that one Tools, because it uses, or similar to Magitech and Edgar's tools, things like Diffuser. It's an annoyance, but it's vulnerable to instant death. So Odin, Raiden, Doom, I think Break works on it as well. That makes that a non-factor.
Break does not work on tools. It is immune to stone, but it is not immune to the other instant death.
It's long arm, then Break works on. Like what he was trying to do before.
Correct.
Yeah. Alright, so we flip it over. We have Hit, who is the big blue guy. He just smacks you with physical attacks. He can be stopped. When you deplete his hit points, he does 10 hits, which is our version of FF1's Kraken in the Sea Shrine or the Temple of Fiends Revisited, where that hits you multiple times in one go. And then to finish it up, we've got Tiger, who, despite what Jex says, is the most single dangerous part of Tier 2. Because it can cast Zombie, it casts Encross, which the amount of times it's frozen people is just a bit of a nightmare. A lot of people have a specific order when dealing with Tier 2, and usually it will be instant death on tools, mute on magic, kill Tiger straight away, and then deal with the rest. Preferably leaving magic for last, because it's muted. You can just heal up and consolidate. Because chances are, like tonight, the way 10 hits was going, it was rough.
Absolutely. And it looks like Barren has decided to take a forfeit at this point, which, again, I completely respect. This seed was absolutely rough. So, no shame whatsoever in taking a forfeit at this point. So I'm going to bring this up and play a little music. He is going to come and join us here for a bit of a chat.
And while Rav get that sorted, everyone, once again, just check our runners out. I will be putting the links up in just a sec. Over to you, Rav.
All right, and welcome, Barren. GG, well played. Really good showing for your first restream here. This seed, particularly Final Kefka, was a rough one. How are you feeling about it? I'm trying here. Apparently, we're having a bit of a Discord technical difficulty. While we try to figure that out, once again, reminder to everyone, please, if you are new to the community, join us in our Discord, join us at our website. We have plenty of people who are absolutely, thrilled to jump in and help out and, join you on your journey and have you join us in playing this wonderful game. And it looks like the Red Baron's mic is not working properly. It's not cooperating with us. So once again, we're just going to say GG to you then, Red Baron. Please join us again. I am going to take us away now. Once again, final shout out to the rest of the Restream team. Thank you all so much for joining us along here. Also, shout out to our wonderful developer, Atmatech, who is the solo developer of this. It is a single person doing it.
Those 6 limbs come in handy. I mean, we've seen what work Atma can do in the game, so he's always got things on the go, and he's done a fantastic job. It's probably one of the most well put together open world JRPG randomizers available at the moment.
Yep. And so right now I'm going to take us on a raid over to Wef Jebster's channel. He is another member of the Worlds Collide community. He also plays a whole bunch of other randomizers and is just generally a decent guy. He does not race, so if you want to see people playing randomizers in less competitive ways, Wef is a really good person to watch. He's currently playing Chrono Trigger Jets of Time. So we're going to call it Oop, I just went into the wrong channel. Call it a night for now. Thank you so much all for joining us. Go ahead and let's send some love to Wef if that just didn't work. Why did that not work? Oh, because I'm silly.
We're professionals.
All right, so we're going to head over there, send Wef some love, and have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
And remember, boo Jack.